We fail to understand how the liberation of Black Americans is connected with the liberation of the rest of the world. So if we look at where Black Americans' history started in this country, obviously, you know, they come from West Africa when they were brought here on slave ships, and they have a deep, beautiful, thorough history with so much culture and history that, you know, is forgotten about. But let's talk about where it started at in America. So they're enslaved for 400 years through the worst form of slavery and the worst type of oppression. When you actually read about what happened, it's worse than anything they've ever told us. And then after that, they're finally freed. And eventually during that time of freedom, they build a lot of strong communities. And what happens? Those communities are either bombed, like Black Wall Street or Tulsa, Oklahoma. They're bombed, or they're attacked by lynch mobs like the KKK and all that different type of stuff. Then Jim Crow laws and redlining and all these type of laws come into place. So through redlining and all these other laws that basically forced Black people into ghettos, they filled those ghettos with nothing but drugs and guns and made it impossible for them to actually get decent jobs. And this is before the civil rights movements or during the civil rights movements, where basically it was hard for Black people. And then they're destroying the family nucleus. They're taking the fathers out of the home, which is making it so much harder to raise a complete healthy family. And that also led to more struggle and more destruction of the Black communities. And then through the civil rights movements, they gain more rights, as well as getting rights for the rest of us minorities and everyone else that enjoys these rights today. And even against all odds and all of that, Black people today are still finding a way to reconnect with a healthy culture, reconnect and overcome all of these obstacles and still be great and still find economic success, intellectual success. They're rebuilding their community slowly, one day at a time. But how does the news and how are we taught to portray it? We're taught to look at Black people as criminals. We're taught to say this is all their fault that they're in this position. Don't get me wrong, everyone has to be held accountable for their own life and their decisions that they make, but it's not their fault that they started negative 50, you know, and everyone else gets to start at 0. And some people start at 50, you know what I mean? So that's important to understand, because the same way they portray them and they use all this propaganda to make us dehumanize and look bad at them so they can continue to lock them up and kill them, is the same way that they do that to us in the Middle East and everyone else around the world. This is why I say we're not free until we're all free. Because whether it's in Palestine or whether it's here in America, our brothers and sisters are being dehumanized and killed and systematically oppressed. And it's deeper than just a couple posts. It's deeper than just a couple, they're just criminals or bad people. It's like we fall for the same tactics. When it's used on us, we get mad. But when it's used on other people, it's like we become blind. So we got to understand the entire system. That the same people and the same systems that oppress us in the Middle East are the same systems that oppress us and mainly our Black brothers and sisters in America. So the only way that liberation will truly be achieved is if we all unite and we learn to respect each other and we learn to understand the system and to not just destroy it, but to rebuild and create something better. Love y'all.